strategy that I just wanted to highlight is this idea of kind of story, self-compassion, self-talk, right? So how we talk to ourselves and the stories that we're telling ourselves really matter. And they're a great way to kind of bring us down or to build our resilience and our wellness. So this idea comes, or what I'm kind of thinking about comes from Brene Brown. The story part of it. So if you're interested, Dare to Lead, she talks a lot about the stories that we tell ourselves. She is a shame researcher and she also researches resilience. And in a lot of like hundreds of interviews, thousands of interviews with people who show a lot of resilience in their lives, one of the core strategies that they found that these people had was that they would not just say, oh, this happened, this person's doing this. They'd be like, the story I'm telling myself is that this person doesn't like me. The story I'm telling myself is that I'm not going to have enough money, right? Usually the stories we tell ourselves that are bothersome are negative. But you know, you could be like, the story I'm telling myself is that I'm going to win the lottery, so I don't really even need to go to work today. Could be something positive. But just noticing that everything we do with our mind, it is a story that we're telling ourselves. It's not truth, because truth doesn't really exist out there. The idea of self-compassion ties into that. So that comes from Kristin Neff, and she's a researcher who's looked a lot at self-compassion and just that we often don't treat ourselves as kindly as we do our friends and loved ones. So I'm trying to bring that self-compassion to ourselves. So just really quickly to think about a situation recently that you had where you noticed a big story. Could have been about your boss, it could have been about a family. This a story I told myself often when families, like we had kind of hard visit, they didn't show up the next week, I'd be like, this family doesn't like me. I did something wrong. Like it was always about me. So when I learned this strategy, I'd start to say, okay, the story I'm telling myself is that this family doesn't like me. This family didn't like our last home visit. And then now my strategy is also to be like, the story I'm telling myself is, and then I also will, if I spend a little time on the negative story, I make myself tell a positive story. So my positive story in that example is like, you know, the story I'm telling myself is that this family, it didn't show up this week because they were so inspired by my conversation with them last week that they like completely forgot and they changed their life completely, and something really amazing happened and they just forgot our visit because it was so good. So whatever, I mean, it's just silly, right? But it's just a way to do that. So spend a minute or so just thinking about something recently where your story was like really present. And try reframing it as like, the story I'm telling myself is, you can tell yourself the same story. And then try telling yourself a couple other stories. You're just imagining all of them anyway. And I'll be quiet for